I think the one interesting decision the Chiefs have this offseason, and I think they have to pick one, is Travarius Ward versus Bashad Breeland.
Mm.
Um, they have very hard names to say. I love our
They do.
secondary and how difficult everybody's name is. However, I think they have to choose between them. Travarius Ward's on the restricted free agent tag, and I think
Right.
they would have to use a second round tender, like I mentioned earlier, because a team could just come in and sign Ward if they didn't. At least they would get a second round pick if some team did, and I don't think any team would, which would be about 3.4 million. But I think Bashad Breeland actually would cost more than that, and it would have to be multiple years, maybe
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit more guarantee thrown in there. So I think they'll have to choose which one they value more. Personally, in the now, I think Bashad Breeland's worth a bit more, but he would also cost more because of that.
Right.
So I think they'll have to choose one of the other, and that one will be this cornerback that's back. I think they will bring one of them back, though.
Yeah, I think so too. Who do you like better?
I mean, I think Bashad Breeland would be a more stable outside corner.
Yeah.
Ward would have a higher ceiling for next year, but I don't think we're going to keep him past next year. So it's kind of just a pick your poison type thing. I like Ward slightly more just because it's 1 year and then you could get a comp pick, because
Mm-hmm.
if you sign Breland to 2 or more years, who knows what he would get after that season being over 30, and who knows how his play will go. So I think I would go Ward slightly.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you there. I do like Bashar Breeland. We talked about him on yesterday's podcast, and he gets toasted every now and again, and gets that D holding every, every poor timed possession. It seems like Bashar Breeland will show up with a defensive holding, and that's I don't want to say it's not his fault because it really technically is his fault, but it just sometimes how the cookie crumbles. I like both of those guys. I think you're right though with Warden, and in terms of more of a long term investment wise, that would probably be best. Not necessarily long term investment, but as in long term reward, even with it when it comes to the comp
Yeah.
pick too. Um, so I think those are all interesting. And sticking with the defensive side of the ball, Damian Wilson is also a free agent. This defense has the chance to look very, very different next year if they don't
Yeah.
re-sign a lot of these guys. Which, they've kind of made it so they sound like that they don't. They're not going to try to run it back again. They might try to get some new blood in here, and I think like I said on yesterday's podcast, I think I'm ready for some new blood to enter this team.
Yeah, I think it's time for a retooling of
Mm-hmm.
sorts. However, and a lot of this stuff really depends on the internal scouting that Veach is probably doing right now on the team. Damian Wilson could be a return on a veteran contract candidate as well, mainly because when I was doing my mock off season, I think it was a bit difficult for me. I don't, it's hard to scout every team in the NFL. That's just hard to do, period.
Mm-hmm.
Only people that are actually paid to do that, aka NFL front offices, can really do that, or like PFF or of those likes. For us middling reporters for Arrowhead Report, I don't think we can scout the
No,
entire NFL.
no.
So Brev each might have targets for veteran linebackers to bring in, kind of a la Damian Wilson a few years ago. But if they actually want Damian Wilson back and liked what he offered, people forget in the off season. I wrote about this in my first mock off season post, but the top 51 rule is in effect, which
Mm-hmm.
means the top 51 contracts are the only ones that count against the cap. The Chiefs already have 51 contracts, so the salary cap you're seeing is with those 51. So when a contract's added to them and a contract falls out of the top 51, you have to take the difference between the one added and the one that leaves. So Damian Wilson signs for 1.5 million. The contract that leaves, say it's 700,000, you would take the difference. It would only add 800,000 against the cap. So even if he says, "Oh, 1.5 million, we can't afford that. We only have 8 million." Well, he's not adding 1.5 million. He's only adding 800,000. So that's kind of how the Chiefs could retain some of these vets or some of the people they want to, as long as they're not like too expensive. Like I don't know. I don't even know somebody for the Chiefs that might be too expensive. Maybe Bashad Breeland,
Yeah.
if he's like over 4 mil a year. But if it's in the 1-2 mil range, just know that a lot of that contract will be covered by whatever contract leaves at the top 51. And Damian Wilson might be an example of that.